I found out why not only me, but most men don't reach their full potential because they have not learned this formula. This formula will cause you to reach your full potential. Anybody interested? I say, anybody interested? Not 95, not 80, 100% of the time, this will work if you learn to work it. SQ is my belief about my identity and purpose. AQ is about capacity. If I can lock in identity and purpose, if I can become solid on who I am and why I exist, and I can hold that identity and purpose under extreme pressure, then it's just a matter of time before I execute life, leadership, and legacy. My family, my business, my personal life rest on my ability to remain who I am under extreme pressure. The character that I've been using to get to this level is not sufficient to get me to the next level. So what I had to do is switch out character. Because when I switch out character, I choose a new character that is designed to get me to the next level. You cannot get to the peak without first honoring the fact you got to master the pit. In 80s, there was no iPhones and taking pictures immediately. No, sir. There was this time when there was a dark room and you had to go into the dark room. It had to be dark so things could develop. Because if you turn the light on ahead of time, it ruins the picture that is emerging. If I can get you to master your sense of belief in your identity and purpose, and you can hold that belief under extreme pressure, then you'll be able to execute skillfully across life, family, and business. I wish I had 10 of y'all that would jump up and shout, because all you are is a character away from the next level of your life. All you are is a character away from the next level, next dimension, next season of your life. What's up, y'all? I'm Donald Morton. I'm the founder of Remand. And at Remand, we work with married businessmen with families to help them interrupt patterns, disrupt behaviors, break the vicious cycles of missed potential so that that man can master his sense of personal life, his leadership to his family, and his legacy concerning business and community. I'm incredibly grateful to be with you today. I have so much going on, the good stuff that's genuinely happening, but I wanted to take a moment out of my day to hang out with you and talk to you about something that is a trend. It's not even necessarily a trend because there's some truth to it. It's been said for years and for decades and for centuries, and anything that is said for that long period of time is difficult to interrupt or introduce a new idea because everybody holds fast to the first thing that they believe is true. And so I'm going to introduce to you a new truth today, but I'm going to do so to just kind of clear up some things. I'm going to clear up some things. And it's not that the things that have been said prior to this are not true, because they are. But it is to say that they are not incorrect. They are incomplete. So I want to bring clarity to something that has been taught for years, for decades, for centuries. Do me a favor, let everybody know that I'm on the air. And also, like, share. I want to thank all of you that are watching across different platforms. Thank you if you're watching by LinkedIn. Thank you if you're watching by Facebook. And thank you if you're watching by YouTube. Thank you for all of you who are spending your lunch break or period of time with me at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. For those of you that are in Houston, Texas, or in Texas, it's 11 o'clock, not quite your lunch break. And for some of you that are in different parts of the country, it's something totally different, right? You may be in the evening time, wherever you are, and whatever time it is. Good hanging out with you. All right. So I want to let's see, make sure that you guys know what I really want. Oh no, that's not what I want. Um, let's see, background stuff. No, I don't want that either. There we go. All right. So I want to welcome everybody to today's conversation. Not quite figured out what to call these sessions, these kind of pop-ups that I have every so often when there's something on my mind that I really need to address with you guys. I'm not exactly sure what to call it. But for this period of time, I just want you to like and subscribe across platforms, Facebook, Instagram, not Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I want you to like, I want you to subscribe, I want you to share so that we can have as many people on the live as is possible. Again, for those of you that don't know, I'm Donald Morton. I'm the founder of Remain. We work with married businessmen with families to support them while they interrupt patterns, disrupt behaviors, break the vicious cycles of missed potential so that that man can master his life, leadership, and legacy all at the same time. And we have a phenomenal time with you on today. You ever wonder why we say on today? That's an old church thing. I still got some church boy residue uh, on the inside of me. But yeah, I don't want to necessarily be known as a church boy. All right. So here is the formula that we always work from. The formula that we always work from that I want you to be crystal clear about is that SQ times AQ equals MQ cubed. Listen to me carefully. SQ, a man's spiritual quotient, his sense of belief around two fundamental ideas. Who am I really? Right? Like, what is my sense of identity? How do I identify myself? Not how does someone else identify me? How do I identify myself? And not only my belief around identity, also my belief around purpose, right? Like, what is the purpose and assignment that I have when I was sent here, right? Because all of us were sent here with a purpose. All of us were sent here in a purpose and with a purpose to fulfill a purpose. So SQ is about my belief. It's about my belief in my identity and purpose. Times, not plus, times AQ. AQ is SQ is my spiritual quotient. AQ is my adversity quotient, my capacity to handle pressure, not just any pressure, extreme amounts of pressure. Right? So many of you are already doing really, really well at handling pressure. But you're handling pressure that is inconsistent with the sense of identity and purpose to which you've been sent here. So when you have zero on either side of that, when you have zero in your spiritual quotient or if you have 0 in your adversity quotient, you have 0 in your belief, and you have strong capacity, then you won't crumble under pressure, but you have no sense of direction. At the same time, if you are strong in your sense of direction, SQ, spiritual quotient, your belief, but you have 0 in AQ, your capacity to handle pressure, your sense of direction and your sense of belief and identity and purpose will crumble the moment you are hit with a challenge. So both of them are necessary. We have researched this for years. Both of them are necessary. It is necessary for you as a man to have a sense of identity, a sense of direction, purpose, and for you to be able to hold that identity and purpose under extreme pressure. It is the only way that you're able to sustain a skillful execution across life, your personal life, your family life, and your business life, all at the same time. So that is the framework from which all of our discussions happen. Our discussions happen because that formula is 100% true. It is a law. It is a law in the same way, I don't know, that the law of gravity is a law. The law of gravity doesn't care what color you are, what height you are, what weight you are. The law of gravity works. It pulls you toward, it attracts, it pulls you toward the center of the earth, no matter where you are. Got it? So this is a law just like gravity is a law. This is a law just like E equals MC squared is a law. These are laws that do not care. They're not personal, right? Like a law isn't personal where it's trying to seek someone to obey it or not obey it. It's not that kind of party. A law is a law is a law. And SQ times AQ equals MQ cubed is the law of integration. It is the law that brings all parts of ourselves together in alignment across a spiritual quotient, adversity quotient, and mastery quotient. So that is at the very beginning. Let me state that at the very beginning. What I want to talk about today, though, is I want to talk about this sense that mindset, we've heard this from mindset coaches, we've heard it from spiritual leaders, we've heard it from a number of different people, that what is absolutely necessary for you to win at life is you've got to change your mind. And what I want to suggest to you is that changing of your mind is not at all incorrect. It is not incorrect. So I'm not coming for those of you who say mindset is important, because mindset is absolutely unequivocally important. But mindset is not the end all, be all that will cause you to have a different way of life. It is not the end all, be all for you to experience success at the level that you want to experience success. I know men who do a lot of work around mindset, a lot of work around their thoughts. There are clinicians who talk often about CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. It suggests that if I can reframe my thoughts, then it'll cause me to behave differently, right? My thoughts determine my behaviors. So if I think a certain way, then that thought will cause a different behavior. And what I will say to you, and for those of you that are CBT practitioners, I believe in your work. I do. I believe in your work. I think your work is important. I think your work is powerful. It's just a bit incomplete. Because all of us know, men and women, in my context, men, because all I work with is men. We all know men who have changed. This is an important distinction. Changed their thought patterns, right? They've changed their thought patterns, and they think that the changing of their thought patterns is all that has to happen in order for there to be success, change, right? So if I simply change, if I change, then that change will bring a level of success that I've been awaiting. And we've been told that over and over and over again. Just change. Why won't he change? Well, here's the truth. The truth is that oftentimes he gives you exactly what you ask for. He changes, right? He changes. But the challenge with change is that change is not sustainable. Type that in the chat for me. Change is not sustainable. So that's why you can have a guy who said, babe, I've changed. He can cheat, he can lie, he can steal, he can do all of the things. And he can say to you and to others with a clear conscience, babe, I changed. He is not lying. The challenge is that change is not sustainable. There's no long-term sustainability with someone who changes. There's no long-term sustainability for someone who changes. So when a man says, babe, I'll change, believe him, because he's telling the truth. In that moment, as he sees it, he is committing to change. The problem with change is that change is very wide, but very shallow. So when you think about change in the way that is very wide, does a lot of things, goes to church more. He may even get a therapist that's going to walk him through CBT. And I'm not coming against therapists. I got a great therapist. My therapist, she like that. It's a part of the work that I'm called to do. It's a part of the work of what makes me whole so that I can serve men, right? But change, Dwight Robinson, what's happening, my guy? He says, good afternoon from Baltimore. He didn't say actually good afternoon. He said afternoon from Baltimore. Is it not a good afternoon, Dwight? Is it a bad afternoon? Because I want to minister to you. I want to serve you if you're having a bad afternoon. Change is not sustainable. So he'll go to church more. He'll have these different behaviors because his way of thinking, his thought process, right? His thought process, he can make some adjustments to, and he begins to do some things differently. That is not the issue. That is not the issue. The issue is not whether or not he can change his thoughts. The issue is not whether or not he can, in a real moment, adjust his way of thinking, because he can. It's been proven. The science around CBT is proven. I take nothing away from that. The science around CBT is proven. It just doesn't go far enough. Because there's a difference between change, which is a mile wide and an inch deep, and transformation that happens at the core level. Transformation happens at the core level. Transformation happens at the core level. So there's a difference between a man who changes and a man who transforms. For those of you that are just joining me, whether you're joining me on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, thank you for joining me. Let me know who you are, where you're watching from. Let's have a conversation. There's going to be a period where we go through Q&A, and I want to be able to answer as many questions as I possibly can. If you are a lady and you're watching me, then feel free to ask me a question about what your husband may be dealing with, what your son may be dealing with, what your uncle, brother, grandfather, whoever may be dealing with. I am the man that deals with all things men. Look what Dwight says. Transformation is revelationary. Very good. He said, a very good. A bad day at home is better than a great day. A bad day at home is better than a great day at work. I happen to be at work, at home. So both are good days, Dwight. But I would have to agree with you. So when we talk about change, we're talking about the very surface stuff that men do. The behavioral stuff is surfaced. So we'll do the surface stuff for as long as wifey complains. We'll do the surface stuff for as long as parents complain. We'll do the surface stuff for as long as the tears flow from our children. We'll do the surface stuff. We'll do the surface stuff for as long as there is an external stimuli or stimulus in order for us that requires us to do it. So we'll show you a different behavior. The challenge is that a different behavior is not sustainable without deep core work. A different behavior is not sustainable. You will go back to who you've always been. In fact, who you've always been didn't go anywhere. You just masked that man with doing some things differently. And that's why you can see individuals who have made short-term adjustments and you felt like, man, I thought they had their lives together. No, you were fooled because you think change is the end all be all. So as long as you change your mind, change behavior is temporary without the preceding things that we're going to talk about today. So Dwight is right. Change behavior is temporary. It's temporal, right? It's subject to change. All things that do not happen at the core are subject to change. But what if I told you that there is a way for a man, your husband, your father, your brother, there's a way for you as a married man, as a father, as a guy who is just attempting to get his life back on track? What if I told you that there is a way for you to change at your very core? What if I told you that you didn't have to go through the exhaustion of being up one day, down the next, doing one thing one day and being frustrated because you can't keep it up because you're attempting to change behavior without a core change? And what I want to share with many of you is that we need to allow some grace to guys who don't sustain change. They're doing the best they can with what they know. And because they have never been introduced to a program like Remand. Remand is a whole vibe. Remand is a whole system. It's a whole operating system that we download into men so that men can change and transform at the gut level, at the core of who they are. And even if it's not a change, it is what Dwight just referred to as a revelation. A revelation is of who they are at the core, without all of the drama and trauma and baggage that covers that, because of all the things that they've been through in their lives. Look at what Dwight said. I want it all. Dwight, that's exactly where we're going. I want it all, 3 degrees at a time. Now, you guys don't know what 3 degrees at a time means. Dwight is talking Remand language because he has been in the brotherhood for, I don't know, 2-3 years now. So what I want to talk about is the missing ingredients that a man has to be able to get a lock on if he's going to sustain change, which is ultimately what we know as transformation. Transformation is the Greek word that we get metamorphosis from. Transformation is there's my guy. Transformation is the Greek word metamorphosis, where we get metamorphosis. It's the idea of a caterpillar into a butterfly. It never goes back to its original form. So we know when transformation has taken place because it can never go back. It's not that he won't, he can't. So execution of the behavior sparked the pattern to change because it disrupts the old pattern of behavior. We live in patterns and not in moments. We absolutely live in patterns and not in moments. So doing something different will work short term. Doing something different does not last long term, because doing without first being creates no sustainability in the doing. The only way that doing lasts is if it is preceded by a structural shift, a structural transformation that happens at the core of that man. Unless that man experiences at his core a transformation, then he can change a behavior and interrupt old behaviors. But if he changes a behavior by interrupting an old behavior without first changing and transforming who he is at his core, he will slowly but assuredly return to who he was. He will slowly and assuredly return to who he was, because who he was is who he is, because it was never addressed. You addressed his behavior, you didn't address his being. So what I want us to think about is, I want us to think about a butterfly. A butterfly began in a cocoon, right? And that caterpillar changes shapes and forms, transforms, never goes back to a caterpillar. Once he's a butterfly, he's a butterfly, he's a butterfly. Once he's a butterfly, he's a butterfly, he's a butterfly, he's a butterfly. But Dwight just talked about, here he is, Dwight just talked about 3 degrees at a time. That's what transformation looks like. Transformation does not happen in radical, big announcements. Transformation happens in the subtle, unseen moments, what we call inside of our world of Remand, 3 degrees at a time. And when that caterpillar began to shift and to change 3 degrees at a time, ultimately, he becomes something different than what we saw. He becomes something different than what we saw. He becomes something different than what we saw. It's not that he doesn't have the desire to go back. He doesn't have the desire to go back to being a caterpillar. He can't. Why? Transformation that's taking place. So let me tell you what that looks like spiritually. And the reason why I wanted to really address this idea of thoughts. Mindset is not the end all be all. So sorry to every mindset coach who says all you got to do is change your thoughts, cognitive behavioral therapy, all you got to do is reframe your thoughts. It is not incorrect, but it is incomplete. Because if you think that all you have to do is reframe your thoughts and then act on that reframed thought, you can do that and that works short term, but it doesn't work long term unless there are some other mechanisms involved. So let's talk about what the other mechanisms are that need to be involved. And let me go back to our formula. Our formula is SQ, spiritual quotient, belief in identity and purpose, times AQ, adversity quotient, the capacity to remain who I am and why I exist under extreme pressure that will cause mastery quotient across 3 domains, life, leadership, and legacy. That is the formula. It is our proprietary process. Because what we know is that before we get to AQ, you got to have a foundation of a strong SQ, and a strong SQ happens to the extent and to the degree that we have a transformation in our understanding about who we are and why we are. Now that looks a bit different. Let me see if I can't pull up an image for y'all that might be helpful for you to witness and see. Let me see if I can. So for those of you that don't know, I'm going right back to as soon as I find this image that I can serve you guys with. If you are not a member of the Forge, I want to give you an opportunity to join the Forge 7 days free. So it is a no-brainer for you to be inside of the world of Reman, where we're doing business deals together. We are transforming together. We're loving and serving our families together. It is the absolute most incredible place for businessmen who are married with families, like an incredible, incredible place. There we go. All right. So let me show y'all this. This is what we call the character arc. This is the work that brothers are doing every single day. Now, I don't have time to explain the entire arc to you, but what I will tell you is every man is on his own character arc. Every man is on his own journey. Every man is on his own journey, but the stages of the journey are the same for every man. So if you, and this is just kind of a public service announcement, if you have a men's ministry, if you have a men's group, if you, anything like that, you are dealing with things that we want to make sure we get a chance to serve you, because we understand how men work. We have dedicated our lives to the research and to the experiences and to the growth and development of men. That's all we do. We're a one-trick pony. We don't do a whole lot of stuff. We don't sell cookies. We don't fry chicken. We don't do any of that. We are only interested in making the world better through the transformation of men, one man at a time. So what we see here is that, and I really can't pull this up. I really want to know how to draw on StreamYard in the same way that I can on Zoom, and it doesn't look like it allows me to, but I will say it as best I can. So these are the 3 phases. Spiritual is SQ, the larger arc is AQ, the intersecting domains, life, leadership, and legacy is MQ cubed. You also see I don't know whether you can see my pointer, but what you also see is conscious to subconscious. Conscious to subconscious simply means that my conscious reality is the way that I think. It is the awareness of how I think, right? It is the reframing of how I think. In my subconscious rests my sense of belief, my convictions. But what is not often talked about is between my conscious reality and my subconscious reality is a thing called emotions. It's called feelings. Yeah, Dwight, the Mecca. It is the Mecca. So between my conscious reality and my subconscious reality is a thing called feelings. It's called emotions. Now, men don't like to express their emotions, but we require it inside of our world. The raw, unfiltered emotion. So if a man needs to cuss, he cusses inside remand. If he needs to scream because because he's experiencing a challenge, then we allow that. The raw emotions of a man are probably the most powerful thing to witness. The raw, rot gut emotions of a man are probably one of the most powerful things to witness. And it's the reason why the world is afraid of a man with emotions. But once he learns how to integrate his emotions inside of his life, all emotions, not just the ones that are pretty, not just when he's joyful. We want him when he's angry. Not just when he's full of belief, but we want him when he's afraid. I remember talking to men during COVID, and men were attempting to convince one another that they weren't afraid. I mean, jobs were closing, they couldn't go to work, they didn't know where their next, where their income was going to come from, businesses closing down, and men saying, I'm not afraid. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm not afraid. A man that is not afraid with the level of uncertainty that we were dealing with when COVID hit, the deaths that were happening when COVID hit, the uncertainty of government when COVID hit, for a man to say, yeah, I'm good. First of all, was a lie. But why did he lie? He lied because we've created a society that doesn't make room for his emotions. He can't say that he's afraid. He can't say that he's uncertain. He can't say that he's concerned. He's gotten to hold it all together for as many people as he can hold together, while all the while he's breaking on the inside. So how he shows up is a matter of his belief, but his belief is that lives in his subconscious. Hear me when I say this. Kevin Grimes is on. He will back me up with this. The belief that is held in his subconscious. The belief that is held in his subconscious. And his subconscious is 95% of his behavior. 95. So 95% of a man's behavior is based on his subconscious reality. It's things that's happening inside of him. Only 5% is based on his conscious reality. So the decisions that he's making, here's the problem. When 5% is what he's actually saying, But 95% is actually how he's feeling and what he believes. The expression of his subconscious is going to be in his behavior and in his actions. So, for example, I can say I'm not afraid, but if I'm afraid in my subconscious and my belief system is challenged in my subconscious, I am going to act in line with that subconscious. I'm going to act. And even though you hear me saying one thing, 95% is what's causing the outcomes that I'm seeing. And what are the outcomes that I'm seeing based on? The fact that I have unacknowledged fear, uncertainty, concern about what's going on. And because there's not been space for me to present that, then I'll continue to try to struggle on my own. And it's not your fault. Listen to me, my guy. It's not your fault. No one taught you how to address the fears, the concerns, the anger, the aggravation, all of those things. No one taught you. Now, while it is not your fault, listen to me, it's still your responsibility to address it. So it's not your fault that your dad walked out on you years ago, but it is your responsibility to address it. It's not necessarily your fault that you have A, B, and C happening, but it is your responsibility to handle A, B, and C, even if A, B, and C is not your fault. That which is not your fault is still your responsibility. So what I want you to see is that we are talking about the difference between a conscious and subconscious reality, and what's happening with most men is that they are attempting to change the conscious and thinking that changing the conscious, the thoughts. Look at what Kevin said. Told you. Shout out to Kevin Grimes. He's our certified master character arc trainer, certified character arc master trainer for Remand. Brilliant guy. Listen to what he says. Truth, because the subconscious pattern is stronger than the newly acquired knowledge. So the newly acquired knowledge is necessary, the newly acquired knowledge is necessary. And when you couple that, when you marry that, when you baptize that with the feelings, then you can create a new subconscious reality. From that place, now you're able to function at a higher level. But if you never take the small, newly acquired knowledge and you don't fill it full of feelings. So there are a couple of ways to be able to deal with feelings. You can deal with feelings proactively, which means to take a thought and baptize it in a feeling with the outcome that you assume. And you'll see the outcome. I'm gonna share with you the scripture in a moment. Or you can take a thought and you can ask, why is this feeling here? If this thought is producing this feeling, and it is, then you now get an opportunity to change a thought that changes your feeling, that changes your ultimate belief that is in your subconscious, and then your behavior changes. So it's not just your thoughts. It's your thoughts are necessary. Your thoughts are a part of the process, but it's not the end all be all. Dwight says, I concur. Changing your thoughts alone will not sustain change behavior. Mindset is not the end all be all. There's a whole different part of the process that no one has taught you. And because no one has taught you the other parts of the process, you get frustrated. They told me all I got to do CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. If I change my thoughts, if I reframe the way I think about a thing, then it'll retrain my behaviors about that thing. And then I'll be able to go on with my life. No, sir. No, sir. Sorry they lied to you. There are some other things involved. Thoughts, look at what Dwight just said. Thoughts, feelings, beliefs, behaviors. So where is that said? For those of you that are Christians, I'm a Christian, not really of the kind that everybody else is, because I don't even want to be associated with that kind of Christian. I want to be a Christian that gets results. I don't want to be a Christian that just talks about results. I don't want to be a Christian that just is a Bible thumper, knows all the scriptures by heart, but whose life doesn't shift and change. Like I'm not that guy. I'm a Christian that believes in meditation. Yeah. So I may not be your kind of Christian. It's okay. But this is what I will tell you. Here's the scripture on it. For as Dwight, Kevin, Donald think. So that's where everybody's stuck. For as a man thinks, so is he. For as a man thinks, so is he. For as a man thinks, so is he. That is not what the ancient text says. For as you think, so are you. As you think, so are you. No, sir. This is what it says. For as a man, Donald, Dwight, Kevin, and others that are watching the replay. By the way, if you're watching by replay, #replay, tell me where you're watching from and what your name is. For as a man thinketh, watch what it says, in his heart, the seat of his soul, the seat of his emotions, the spirit and core of a man. For as a man thinks there, so is he. Dwight just called it. Look at what Dwight said. He said thoughts, feelings, beliefs, thoughts. For as a man thinks in his heart, where the feelings reside and where his beliefs are, the deepest part of his subconscious, so is he. He is that. When that changes, when that transforms, a different behavior comes. And a different behavior comes consistently. So the frustration that you've been having, bruh, is the fact that you continue to change, but the change isn't lasting. It doesn't stick. Your wife's continued frustration is the change doesn't stick. Why doesn't it stick? Because you haven't changed in your heart, in your emotions, in your feelings, in your subconscious, where your beliefs are. Your belief is nothing more than a crystallized thought feeling loop. It's a crystallized thought feeling loop. All a belief is a crystallized thought feeling loop that went uninterrupted. That's what Kevin said. So when you interrupt a thought feeling loop with new knowledge and you create a thought feeling loop based on that new knowledge, it will overwhelm the old information that is in your subconscious. But if you never introduce new information, a new thought, and that thought can't generate a new feeling long enough, a belief can't form. And if a belief can't form, you just have change. You don't have transformation. Transformation happens in the subconscious of a man so that that transformation can be sustained long term across life, his personal life, his family life, his business life. So hopefully what you saw today was that the real transformation that happens in your sons, ladies, in your husbands, ladies, in your fathers, brother, the real transformation that's happening in you and in your sons happens based on the law. And a part of that law is being able to see thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. Thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. I have to engage the seat of my emotions in order for any of this to work. If my thoughts, if I try to move from thoughts to behavior, I miss an entire chunk of the process. Look what Kevin said. An unexamined life is not worth living, Socrates. So the conscious side of the arc is the awareness. Okay, like Donald says something different today. He says something different because I thought if I just changed my mindset, I could change my behavior long term. I'm good. No, sir. You're missing feelings, you're missing beliefs, you're missing the loop. Like there's a whole law involved in how this works. So you've been frustrated because no one's taught you. Now that you know, or at least have been introduced to the concept, you don't know how to do it yet. And inside of our world, we'll show you how to do it. Kevin said, gotta go. Peace be with you, bro. Love you, man. Right? So what we want to do is we want to make sure that what you have an opportunity to do is to enter for 7 days free to Forge. This is a part of what we do inside of that world. It's not all of what we do inside of that world. Inside of that world, we've got businesses, we've got business leaders, we've got accountants, and we've got lawyers, and we've got entrepreneurs, and we've got veterans, and we've got like inside of the world of Remand, we've everything that you will ever need for your life to grow and build. We have brothers inside of the world of Remand that are ready to do business with you, ready to serve, ready to be there with you. And if you don't do it for any other length than the 7 days that's free, you should do it. Doesn't cost you anything for 7 days. You should do it. Why? Because you are in a pattern that you don't recognize. And I'm the man to call it out. So if you go to remandforge.com for 7 days free, you'll be able to get inside of our world. It won't cost you a dime. You get a chance to go inside of the vault where all of the trainings are. You get a chance to do business with the brothers. You get a chance to work from our daily execution app. All of those things are available to you on day one. Day one. So all you got to do is go to remandforge.com. And you can begin that process. So what I want to do now is I want to open up conversation for Q&A. Let's talk. Do you have any questions based on what I taught today? Comments or questions, put it right in the chat and I'll be able to answer. Let's see how long I got. I don't know how long I got, probably about 5 minutes or so. Oh, I got 6 minutes, exactly, 6 minutes. All right, so if you have questions, let me know in the chat. If you have questions and you're watching on replay, hashtag replay, put your question in the chat and myself or one of the brothers will be able to answer you. Thank you for watching on LinkedIn. Thank you for watching on Facebook. Thank you for watching on YouTube. While you guys are gathering your questions, let me make sure that I show you what we're all talking about. Here we go.
I found out why not only me, but most men don't reach their full potential because they have not learned this formula. This formula will cause you to reach your full potential. Anybody interested? I say, anybody interested? Not 95, not 80, 100% of the time, this will work if you learn to work it. SQ is my belief about my identity and purpose. AQ is about capacity. If I can lock in identity and purpose, if I can become solid on who I am and why I exist, and I can hold that identity and purpose under extreme pressure, then it's just a matter of time before I execute life, leadership, and legacy. My family, my business, my personal life rest on my ability to remain who I am under extreme pressure. The character that I've been using to get to this level is not sufficient to get me to the next level. So what I had to do is switch out character. Because when I switch out character, I choose a new character that is designed to get me to the next level. You cannot get to the peak without first honoring the fact you got to master the pit. In 80s, there was no iPhones and taking pictures immediately. No, sir. There was this time when there was a dark room and you had to go into the dark room. It had to be dark so things could develop. Because if you turn the light on ahead of time, it ruins the picture that is emerging. If I can get you to master your sense of belief in your identity and purpose, and you can hold that belief under extreme pressure, then you'll be able to execute skillfully across life, family, and business. I wish I had 10 of y'all that would jump up and shout, because all you are is a character away from the next level of your life.
All you are is a character away the next level of your life. I don't see any questions, so I'm going to go. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for being a part of today. It's been absolute phenomenal time. I want to remind you, do me a favor, if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're watching on LinkedIn, make sure you holler at me, comment there. And if you're watching here on Facebook, share and like there as well. It's been my absolute pleasure sharing some space with you today, bruh, and for ladies. Thank y'all for hanging out. I'm going to play this and then we're out of here. Have a great day. I saw the fire in brother's chest to be, do, and have something different. And so it was really from every brother that is a participant, from us as player coaches. The transformation, I think, was substantive. Watching the brothers bond and develop and grow and transform is always amazing to me. And so this weekend was, for me, nothing short of amazing, watching the brothers do their work and fully engage, right? Like, so we didn't see any brother half step. You and I were able to see every single brother fully engaged, even brothers that came in saying, this ain't what I really do. Just let me sit back in the cut and chill. Right. Those brothers genuinely fully engaged and grew, not just as individuals, but as a collective.